Just to recap, I'm Dr. Cifra, a full-time regenerative medicine specialist. So I treat different conditions using stem cell therapy. And just a part-time cosmetic surgeon, aesthetic dermatologist, and occupational health, safety, and lifestyle physician. That's why I give lectures like these to different companies. Okay? So Laika was correct when I do a lot of changes for people. Okay? So physically and of course in the organs inside because I give stem cells. Okay? So this topic is very much familiar in my line of work. So change happens, grow anyway. Managing change and handling stress. So most of us, 99.9% of us, fear change. We all fear change. Why? Because whenever there is change, there is a unknown aspect. You don't know what to expect. And we all fear the unknown, right? I will give you some tips on how to cope with change so that you won't have a difficult time adjusting. There are major life events or life changes that happen during our lifetime. So I will give you tips and pointers on how we can be more comfortable, how we can embrace this change, and some tips on how to cope with these changes in our life. Okay? So let's start. So what is change? Let's just define it. Okay? Of course, we all know what this means. It is making or becoming different, altering or substituting one thing for another. Okay? When we were young, we used to change clothes, or even up to now, of course. But we started changing a lot of things since we were born and up to now. You know, the only permanent thing in life is change. Okay? It acts as a verb, meaning to transform or to replace. So I have a lot of patients that I did the rhinoplasty. So Filipinos relatively are not too well endowed with the nasal part. So I have a lot of patients that need rhinoplasty, especially now that it's more Filipinos are more open already to cosmetic surgery compared to 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Okay? So change is also a noun. It means an act of variation or money returned in a transaction. So whenever you pay, if you pay a large amount and then they will give you change. Okay? So key synonyms include alter, vary, transform, convert, switch, and replace. Next slide. So change is inevitable. Okay? Next slide. So yung inevitable na term, of course, you are familiar. Who is the famous MCU character who said it is inevitable? Yes? Mga Marvel geeks. Thanos, very good. Okay? So change, let's face it comes at you from all sides. Okay? So life, of course, is constantly changing. Debts, health, taxes, economy, customers, work, school, technology, money, family. Even attitude. Our attitude change. People change. That's why there's a lot of disappointment. Before you were close friends. All of a sudden, they changed. And you're not close anymore. Before, she was your girlfriend. Now, she becomes your mortal enemy. Okay? Before, you were exchanging I do's. Now, you want to kill each other. Okay? So, next slide. So, change, but it's an uphill struggle. Okay? So, it's always a transformation from before to after, old to new. Next slide. So, of course, like what I mentioned earlier, we are scared of change because we do not know what to expect. Okay? We are hesitant, no? It is natural. We resist change most of the time. It is natural to resist because we are going outside our comfort zone. Remember, uh, when there is change, if you want significant change to happen to you, you really have to step out of your comfort zone. Okay? So there's an example of a change, a transformation, just like a butterfly. Next slide. Okay? So some people get frustrated because of the changes that are happening, and stress. They associate change with stress. Okay? Next slide. Others argue, okay? When change happens, it's not always smooth sailing. There are an exchange of feelings, emotions. Not all are aligned with one another. There is argument. Next slide. Some just want to pull their hair out of frustration. Next slide. And as I mentioned earlier, we associate stress with change. So stress is any outside force that has an effect on our body or mind. Okay? So the formula for stress is stress, or S, is equal to P greater than R. So what does that mean? What is P and R? Pressure and resources. Okay? You only feel stress if the pressure is more than your resources. But, okay, for example, you have to pay every month because of your card, your bills, rental, tuition fee of children, etc. 100,000 a month. Yun yung pressure sa'yo. But your resources, you only earn, your pressure is 100,000, you only earn 50,000. Okay? So 100,000 minus 50,000, where will you get the other 50,000? Yun yung stress mo. Yun yung stressor mo. Okay? So you will have to have a sideline, online selling, etc., etc. Okay? Side hustle. But if your resources are more than your demands or the pressure on you, for example, the pressure on you is 100,000 but you earn 200,000. Okay? So pressure is less than resources, you won't negative stress. You won't feel stress at all. You still have extra 100,000 to spend on leisure, travel, etc., etc., shopping. So you won't feel stress, right? So that's the formula. Okay? It is a physical, mental, or emotional response to events that causes bodily or mental tension. Okay? Next slide. So most of the time, we create our own stress or our stressors through deadlines. Okay? The more unrealistic the expectations, the greater the stress. That's why it's very, very important for us not to feel, so that we won't feel stressed, to learn how to manage time. Okay? Whenever we encounter change, whenever we encounter stress, the more you are good at time management, the less stress you will feel or you will encounter. So, for example, this lecture. So, I had an engagement, I had a talk, 4 o'clock. So, I finished it right away. I was finished by 4:30 in Quezon City. So, right after, I arrived here 5 o'clock. And this was scheduled 6, but it was flexible to 6:30. So, I had more than enough time in the basement to relax. And I wasn't tense. So, I was able to manage my schedule days or weeks before. Okay? I already planned. I have lectures up to the end of the year already. And it's plotted in my phone already. Okay? Next. It's hip to be busy, even if it's stressful. Okay? Does this spell success? So sometimes we have a tendency to be workaholics, right? Of course, Filipinos are very resilient. We work very hard. Whenever we have spare time, we try to be productive, no? Unlike if you compare us to with Caucasians, like, I won't name the country specifically, but we are more hardworking compared to other nationalities. So since we work hard, we juggle so many responsibilities, the tendency is, of course, we are more stressed out. We are the Philippines is one of the top countries with where we get less sleep compared to one of the few countries na nasa top get adults getting the least sleep worldwide. Okay? Hindi naman nasa top 1, but we're in the top 10. Okay? So next slide. We lose perspective because we're too stressed out. Okay? Next slide. And we face different stressors in all our daily roles. We always experience change. We always experience stress. So now I will give you tips on how to cope with these stressors, these changes that we will face or we are facing right now. So of course, 1 hour is not enough to discuss all the changes that's happening to us, but the major life changes in our lifetime, I will try to cover. Okay? So of course, at home, no, parenting, taking care of children, there are alpha males and alpha females. Of course, it won't be. It should be give and take, right? Sometimes, actually, a good couple, an ideal couple would be that the guy would be eldest and the female would be the youngest. So they won't be alphas, both alphas. Okay? It can't be the female would be the eldest and then the male would be the youngest. Otherwise, the female will take control of the family. That's harder to manage. Because of course, we have the father or the male should be the leader, the lead role, right? So there's always, most of the time, there is clashing of parents. Next slide. Okay? So stress comes in all shapes and sizes. Believe it or not, there is what we call good stress. Okay? We call it eustress. EUSTRESS. Examples of good stress or good changes, getting married. Why is it good stress? Of course, you are entering a new phase in your life, right? Instead of you being in charge of yourself, you will also have to think of your partner all the time, okay, in your decision making. However, it is also stressful because, of course, you can't make decisions. You can't just go home whenever you want. You will have to ask permission, etc., etc. So there is also an equivalent responsibility in getting married. Okay? Next slide. Of course, part of getting married, there are people who get married. Unfortunately, there are also couples who undergo separation and divorce. Okay? So this is one of the most difficult changes that we encounter in our lifetime. If it's hard to get married, for me, just my personal opinion, it's even harder to undergo a divorce or separation. Okay? Next slide. So, of course, in changing in marital status, there are a lot of things to consider. So, I will give you tips on if you are of course, I do not wish you undergo this, but at least I'll give you tips so that in case in the future you undergo these types of problems, you're well equipped and prepared. Okay, so financial and practical adjustments. When you get married or you separate, you combine or redefine finances. If married, decide on joint accounts, right? Versus separate accounts, discuss financial goals and debt. Okay, of course, this is for the elderly already. Review beneficiaries, immediate update, insurance policies, bank accounts, retirement plans, our will. Okay, update tax filing, change in status affects your withholding tax rate. Next slide. Okay, these are the more difficult parts. Emotional and relationship adjustments. Okay? So it's very, very important that you are able to communicate expectations. If you are newly married, Discuss routines. Of course, you are two different individuals. You have two different routines. One likes to sleep fully clothed. One likes to sleep naked. One likes aircon. One likes hot environment. So it's really a compromise. Household responsibilities and boundary setting with in-laws. Okay, this may sound uh, mababaw or very menial, but it's really an issue when in-laws come into the picture, right? How many can agree with me? Okay? So I have a very close friend. He's an orthopedic surgeon. And he was just telling me, I don't know if you will agree with him or me, but he was telling me that a few months ago, his in-laws were already sleeping, have been sleeping in their house for so many months already. They started visiting the apos, taking care of the apos, and then they never left. Okay? So this is true. They never left. So at first, he was okay with the scenario, the situation, but there came a point where he became so pissed, and because of course, sometimes he would have his baon prepared, and then pagkita niya kulang-kulang na yung baon niya dahil kinain na nung in-law. Basta yung mga ganong type na small things, but if it builds up, it will be annoying already. So anyway, he was drinking in his den, I don't know where, some part of his house, and he got a little tipsy, and it reached his boiling point, and he told his wife that they cannot stay anymore. So of course it's hard, right? Especially for Filipino culture, where we are used to extended family. We also value the utang na loob tradition that we have to take care of our parents. So it was really a struggle. It was really hard. But eventually, the wife, ano yun eh, syempre parents nung wife, no? And because the dad had Parkinson's na rin. So dependent na rin talaga sa anak. But of course, walang magagawa yung wife. So they had to kick out. In other words, kick out the parents. But of course, the parents can visit during weekends, can stay over the weekend. Hindi naman totally banned. But hindi na yung pwede yung doon na nakatira. So I told him, okay, of course you have the right to do that. That's your house. If you feel that way, ikaw ay masusunod. But always also be prepared that your mother passed away already. That your mother is getting old also. And mama's boy yun eh. So, he keeps on telling me that he loves his mom so much, ganyan, ganyan. He even wants his mom to get stem cell therapy. So, be prepared that when it's your time, it's your time to take care of your own mom, be prepared that she can also not allow your mom to stay with the house. So, tas napaisip siya. Oo nga, no. But sasabi niya, I will just rent a place near na lang my house so I can visit. Okay. So, at least, I talked some sense to him also. Okay? So, it's complicated really with in-laws. So, be patient. Adjusting to a new identity from single to married, married to widowed, takes time. Allow yourself, especially for women, right? Change in family name, sometimes with a dash, sometimes totally change the family name. Allow yourself grace during the transition. And of course, seek support. In whatever change or stressor you are experiencing, you will have to value your support group. Okay? If navigating divorce or widowhood, reach out to friends, family, professionals for emotional support. And lastly, when to seek legal assistance, if changing your surname or facing complexities with legal documents, consider consulting a lawyer or local civil register to ensure paperwork is filed correctly. Next slide. Okay? Of course, this is also inevitable. This is part of, since it is part of life, work is life also. So, stress is also present at work. Okay? Otherwise, if there was no stress in work, then it wouldn't be challenging. It would be boring. We would just be sleeping or playing video games during work, right? It's nothing would be accomplished. Okay? So what are the stressors at work? Colleagues. Okay? Of course. We come from different backgrounds, so of course, we don't have the same attitudes. One works hard, one is a slacker, one is on time, one is always late. So it's a mixture, right? One steps up, one is totally chill and depends on the others to do the job. Okay? So it's hard. At work also, your bosses are stressors also, right? So let's face it, no? Some bosses can become too demanding, so too high expectations from you, set unreasonable deadlines. And of course, if the bosses are stressors, even the subordinates can be stressors as well. Patitigas yung ulo, pasaway. Okay? Next slide. So next, career change. Okay? Career change, changes in work. Of course, promotion is a good type of stress, good change. More responsibilities, more people under you. However, more stress because of more responsibility. More people to deal with. Okay? More expectations. Next slide. So change in a position in a company. Adjusting to a major role change, whether a promotion or demotion or change in job expectations, of course, requires professional maturity, self-reflection, and clear communication. A promotion brings increased responsibility, while a demotion brings emotional and financial adjustments. Sometimes it's really not demotion. There are times when companies merge, and of course, if there is a person with the same rank as you are in the other company, one will have to go down. It cannot be both of you are doing the same job. There will be redundancy. Okay? So, a promotion brings increased responsibility and adjustments. Both require new hire mindset to adapt to the new reality. Next slide. Okay? So, how to adjust to a promotion? So, this is not too much of a problem, right? In fact, we are happy to get this. The promotion is often considered a new job within the same company, requiring you to shift from doing the work to managing or leading the work. Okay? So, number one, avoid diving in head first. So, resist the urge to change everything immediately. Sometimes bosses do this. They want to, make a good first impression. They want to transform so many things right away. That shouldn't be. Especially if you're the new guy coming in a new office or a new department, you will notice the old ones or the old ones in the company will really resist. And, di ba, mapipress con sa'yo, sino ba to? Ang yabang-yabang naman. So make it, immerse yourself gradually. Okay? Take time to observe, learn the new scope, understand the organizational structure, even if you've been there for years. Okay? So, delegate and let go. Your success now depends on what you enable others to do, not just what you produce. Okay? So, you also have to trust the people below you. Otherwise, if you're still going to do their job, then you're not a good leader. Okay? Let go of your old tasks to avoid micromanaging. Okay? I'm so allergic to this term, micromanaging. How many here do not like or hate micromanaging as well. Right? Yeah, we don't like. Micromanaging means uh, looking at the small details and telling you how to do your job, even to the smallest detail. That's micromanaging. So of course, we all have a free will and our own mind, no, on how to do things. So as long as you are doing it properly and you are complying and you are submitting what is required from you, then no need to micromanage. Okay? Micromanage and to empower others. So for example, I was head of the emergency room department for more than 10 years. So I was an emergency room physician and I wouldn't micromanage. I wouldn't teach my nurses or other doctors on how to do things. Kanya-kanyang diskarte yan. If that's their way, of course, kailangan sa ER, mabilis, responsive, alert. You know how to triage, you know how to prioritize which patients need immediate care and which can wait later. But as long as they are able to do their job, I don't really micromanage. I don't, get into what they are doing, their routine, their style. Okay? Next slide. Redefine relationships. Friendships with former peers must change. Okay? For example, you were just equal level with your peer and then you were promoted. Of course, pare-pare tayo outside work. But in work, you will have to respect me. You will have to follow me. Okay? Some people have a difficult time adjusting, become too complacent, right? Cannot draw boundaries. Set boundaries early to avoid accusations of favoritism or awkwardness. Okay? So get clear on expectations. Meet with your new supervisor to align on 30, 60, 90-day goals and understand how success is measured in this new role. Okay? And build new networks, befriend managers to gain insights into higher level behind the scenes work. So be proactive. Don't just be someone who gets paid by going to work at 8 and then going out at 5 without even really doing anything in the workplace or contributing anything. Okay? Next slide. So stress comes in all shapes and sizes. Some bad, rejection, demotion, and losing job. Okay? Next slide. So I will just give you some tips on how to deal with demotion or changes in roles in your workplace. For example, there are some times that we are asked to do jobs that are not in our job description. But of course, since may malasakit ka naman sa company, gagawin mo na rin. Okay? For example, I remember when I was 4th year and 5th year, we were, even if I was a med student, I remember times when I had to push the stretcher to bring the patient to the CT scan or to the ultrasound. Sometimes we lacked nurse aides. They wouldn't go to work. We were the ones who would tackle the urine of the patients in the urine bag to measure. And we would have to throw them in the urinal and record. So those things are not part of training to become a doctor, not part in training, but it builds work ethic also. It's a humbling experience, and you learn to be patient, you learn to be humble, and it builds character also. So even if it's not part of your job, you still pick up valuable lessons in life. Okay? So assess and stay calm. Do not act on impulse. Understand why this happened. Was it performance, structural change, or mismatch? Seek specific feedback. Okay? Be objective. No? Maybe you had some lapses. That's why you experienced this. Okay? Wrong projects, missed deadlines, skills gap, so you can improve and avoid becoming defensive. And rebrand your new role. Commit to the new position by focusing on learning new skills and demonstrating your value in this new capacity. View it as a change to master skills without the pressure of the previous role. Some people, even, believe it or not, some people even want a demotion because they don't want too much responsibility anymore. Like my uncle, he has been driving a forklift for more than 20 or 30 years. But his manager was telling him, hey, you deserve a promotion. No, 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 I don't want responsibility. I just love driving the forklift. So he just accepts the pay increase, but his position is still a forklift driver. Okay? Next slide. So protect your reputation, remain professional, positive, and helpful. Do not badmouth the company, which can bridge, burn, and affect future opportunities. And set new realistic goals. Use the SMART method to create new achievable goals in your new role. Next slide. Okay? So, common strategies for both promotion and demotion. Be patient. Both scenarios involve a learning curve and a period of feeling uncomfortable. Communicate proactively. Keep your manager informed of your progress and challenges rather than waiting for formal reviews. Be proactive. Of course, there's a difference between being sip-sip or pabida kesa sa proactive. There's a very thick line in between. Okay? Sip-sip is doing things that are not already part of your job and you just do it just so that you will be noticed. And then when no one is looking, you're not doing it anymore. Proactive is having initiative. Okay? Looking for work that has to be done, which is also part of your job description. Okay? So consider your career path. If a promotion brings too much stress or a demotion does not align with your long-term goals, use this time to update your resume and consider if the company is still the right fit. Okay? So there are always more opportunities outside, greener pastures. Okay? Remember, if one door closes, one door will open for you. Okay? Next slide. So I'll run through the next few examples so that we still have time for Q&A later. So stress comes in all shapes and sizes. Some good, exams for students, of course. Next slide. Another, relocation or change in home or change in work. So this is quite stressful as well. Of course, there are a lot of adjustments. If you are relocating to a farther place, then you will have to take into consideration the travel time, the gas expense, the traffic, the toll fees. Of course, if you are moving nearer to your workplace, then more time to sleep. It's much easier, much more convenient. Okay? Next slide. Okay, overwhelmed at work. Too much stress can lead to burnout. Okay? And if you are if you encounter too much stress, you will also suffer from mental illnesses. Okay, next slide. Accidents and illnesses. Okay, next slide. So accidents, illnesses can cause permanent change. Okay? So it's very, very hard to accept, especially those who are, for example, professional athletes. And then a professional basketball player. And they are the star of the league, the NBA, star player sa team. And then ACL. So, of course, the flexibility and the athleticism will be gone. So, his basketball career will be over. Okay? Accidents or illnesses. So remember, if you suffer from a stroke, for example, or heart attack, those changes can really affect your life. Okay? Next slide. Like me, I lecture a lot. But if I don't take care of my health, and knock on wood, of course, if I suffer a stroke and I'm not able to sleep, I have a slurring speech already, how would I be able to lecture or consult patients properly? Okay? Death in family, changes in health. Okay? Next slide. So this is part of your work, layoffs, demotion, etc. Next slide. Stock market. Of course, we cannot control this also. This is not only change for us, but the entire Filipino, entire world sometimes. Oil crisis, etc., the stock market, investors do not want to invest in our country anymore, etc. Next slide. The only thing you directly control is you. Okay? Next slide. So, okay, I know stress and I know problems. Give me the fix. So, these are tips on how to deal with changes, deal with stressors. Next slide. The truth is, I don't have a fix. But the good news is there are many small fixes. Okay? So, there is no one key fits all locks. No? Next slide. Ideally, we need a balance. Okay? So changes and stressors, if they are too low, then it is also not good for us. We are not learning. We are not being productive. Okay? We become inactive. We become laid back. Become bored. Okay? It's not good for us. Of course, as stress increases, that's when we reach our potential, our optimum performance. We are on our toes. We are performing. We are motivated. We are excelling. However, it cannot, once we reach our threshold, it cannot be for a very long period of time, or it cannot increase more it cannot increase anymore. Okay? Otherwise, wow, I'm getting paid to do this. Otherwise, we become too anxious. If we encounter too much stress, and then if it's too much or too prolonged, we go into crisis already. That's when we suffer burnout already. Okay? So there should be a balance. There should always be a balance. So dyan pumapasok yung mga long weekends, breaks, so that even if we are on our optimum performance, there is a break, 3-day long weekend, etc. So when we come back on a Monday, we're more refreshed to perform at the peak of our capacity pa rin. Okay? Next slide. So this is what happens, no? Pag up and down yung stressors nyo, nakaka-shock, confusion, depression, emotional turmoil, ganyan. Okay? Next slide. So in crisis, we have two choices, the fight or flight. This is our sympathetic nervous system. It is the body's normal reaction to stressors. Okay? Next slide. Our body and mind may tense up. Okay? Next slide. Think of alternate plans. Plan A, B. These are the tips already on how to lower your stress, how to adjust to changes. We are used to planning one thing only. So always look at it's not being pessimistic. It's just being open to other possibilities. So make a plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D. So if things don't work out with plan A, then you are ready with other plans. No? Next slide. We carry around blame and resentment. We suppress feelings and emotions. So whenever we're stressed out, whenever there are changes, sometimes we bottle up the emotions. So it's good that we are able to vent out to our support group. Studies show that if you are able to vent out or release your emotions, 50% of your stress will be decreased. Next slide. Yan, forgiveness. This is one of the most important reasons why we are still stressed up to now. We cannot let go of the past hurt that we are experiencing. Okay? Hindi tayo makamove on. So, forgiveness, release it. Okay? Accept the fact that it's not forgetting what the other person or what happened to you in the past, or it's not taking for granted that you were hurt in the past. It's just a stage that you have decided to move on already. Okay? Forgiveness is not something we do for other people. We do it for ourselves to get well and move on. Diba? If we are full of hatred, sino ba ang mas naapektuhan? Sino ba yung tumataas ang BP? Sino ba yung mas naiinis? Sino ba yung miserable? Baka nga yung other person, hindi naman niya alam na galit ka pa rin sa kanya eh. He's just living his life normally. He might not even be aware that you are feeling that, that bad. Diba? Next. No one is perfect. Go easy with criticism. Yan. Very, very important also, no? We have a bad tendency sometimes to easily criticize. No? We love to criticize. Yan si ganyan eh. Ganyan. We love to look at faults. When things go not as planned, si ganyan, we point fingers. We love to criticize. No? Change that attitude. Think of solutions na lang. Think of the whole organization as one whole team. And instead of, ito kasi may kasalanan siya kasi. Think of a solution na lang on how to solve it. Okay? Okay, kahit of course once, kahit one time, know na who did it, who was at fault. But after identifying who was at fault, think of the solutions na. Move on ka na. Okay? Siyempre, masama rin naman yung palagi na lang siya yung may fault. Paulit-ulit na lang yung kasalanan. Dapat na ma-address. But of course, be more, look at the positive side all the time. Next slide. Meron tayong tinatawag na ito yung criticism sandwich. Okay? Para sometimes, di ba, we tend to criticize people who are the same level as you. So, syempre, they can resist. Teka, sino ka ba? Pantay lang tayo Or lalo na, mas mataas sa'yo. Okay? So, you have to learn this technique. The criticism compliment, or the criticism sandwich. Syempre, you have to say something good first. For example, this is just an example. For example, my wife. Kumari matagal siya maligo lagi sa banyo. Nalilate na kami dahil matagal siya maligo Siya yung nauuna, tas ako yung sunod, tas malilate na kami dahil ang tagal nga niya. Di ba, women naman are really take longer naman compared to men. Men, pwede kami 5 minutes lang 5 minutes, ang bilis. Shampoo, sabon, sabay na. Okay? Women, 15, mabilis na yung 15 minutes. Minsan 30, 45, minsan 1 hour. Okay? So, of course, hindi naman maganda yung tagal mo naman maligo kaya tayo nalilate parati kasi sabay kami going to work. So, i-compliment muna siya. You know what? I appreciate that you really take care of yourself, your hygiene, which is very good. Especially in our industry, hygiene is very, very important. You compliment. However, sometimes there are circumstances or situations where we really need to speed up sometimes. We have to balance taking care of our hygiene and doing it faster because we have patients time to, kailangan may habulin tayong oras Sasabihin mo na yung criticism. And then, compliment mo ulit. But still, buti na lang, in the past, umaabot pa rin tayo kahit medyo matagal ka sa CR, kahit inaalagaan mo yung sarili mo, umaabot pa rin naman tayo. Pero baka in the future, hindi na tayo swertehin, maunahan tayo ng patient, magagalit sa atin. So, ganon ang style. Good muna, tas saka mo sisingitan ng hindi masyadong bad, maganda pa rin ang pagkasabi. And then good ulit. Okay? You call that the compliment sandwich. Okay? Next slide. Ask, will it matter 100 years from now? Yung mga stressors nyo, yung mga kinakagalit nyo, 100 years from now, will that matter? Or just even 3 years, 5 years from now? Will it matter? No. So don't stress about the little things. Diba? Let go. I'm sure yung parents ko, of course, tayo rin. Lahat naman tayo tatanda And when we become older, we become more sensitive. We become more grumpy. And even yung mga maliliit na details, napapansin na, no? So, my parents kasi, they stress about the little things. Oh, hindi masyadong masarap yung pagkain. Yung mga maliliit na bagay na lang. Kasi nasa house lang naman sila eh. Ang dami na nilang napapansin. They have so much time. Eh tayo, we are working, we are busy. Kahit hindi masyadong masarap, nandyan na yan eh. Tara, okay na lang yan. Sila, maano sa details. So, of course, lahat naman tayo magiging ganon. But at least, we understand now so we can do an effort na wag tayo maging ganon pagtanda natin. Okay? Next slide. Accept people as they are. Remember, hindi tayo pare-pareho. No? If you accept a person for who they are and accept their flaws, their strengths, their weaknesses, mas less yung conflict. Ganyan siya eh. Yan yung opinion niya eh. Okay? Of course, pag sobra ring magkaiba, hindi na rin pwede. Hindi na rin talaga mag-work as a team. Pero, you respect pa rin. May mga differences. That's his style. Okay? It's easier said, but it does work. Next slide. Simplify your life, no? Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Sometimes, tayong nag-e-exert ng too much pressure, hindi na natin na-enjoy yung buhay natin dahil work tayo ng work ng work, ipon ng ipon ng ipon, hindi na tayo naka-travel, hindi na tayo spend time with the people we love. Para dumaan na yung buhay natin na nag-work na lang tayo. Okay? Next slide. Remember, your relationships and life are not perfect. Okay? And neither is the Tower of Pisa, but it is still standing. Next slide. Okay? Have big dreams, but face reality. Next slide. Separate needs from wants. Yan, very, very important. No? Especially if you have goals, you plan to build a house, you plan to start up a business, you have to separate needs and wants. Malaki ang pagkakaiba niyan. Napakalaki. Okay? May mga things na you need. May mga things na you buy just because you want it. Okay? Next slide. Okay? So, live in the present. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Mindfulness. Okay? I'm sure you've heard the term mindfulness. It's living in the present, not worrying about the future too much, not regretting the mistakes of the past too much, enjoying the moment. Sometimes, we're too busy, hindi na natin natitikman yung food natin, hindi na natin natitreasure yung mga conversations. Oo lang tayo na, wala naman talagang pumapasok, wala naman, magkakasama nga kayo mag-breakfast, mag-lunch, pero nag-interact ba talaga kayo dahil nagmamadali ka? Wala lang, wala namang interaction, wala namang bonding. Okay? Take one thing at a time, 1 minute at a time. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow has yet to arrive. Dahil sa sobrang busy natin, nakakalimutan na natin yung present. Okay, next slide. Of course, take care of your body and your mind. Eat, exercise, and eat well. These are the best stress relievers. One of the best stress relievers, exercise. Okay? So ako, before, I used to go boxing. Whenever I'm stressed out, I would put it out on the punching bag. Siyempre, hindi naman nakakabawi yun. At saka, or sa trainer. Okay? So, yung trainer naman, sanay naman, mabugbog. Pero yung mitts naman hindi naman yung katawan niya or yung mukha niya yung sinusuntok. Yung mitts naman. So, yun, nare-release mo yung tension. Next slide. Of course, this is the best, no? One of the best, if not the best. Prayer goes a long way. Next slide. Okay? So, lastly, last tips on how to deal with life changes. Next slide. So, changes are never far from our door, whether it's breaking up with an ex, relocating, having a best friend move away, death of a relative, loss of a job, or loss of our job or demotion, or something that once meant a great deal to you. Next slide. Next slide. So, be prepared. Being prepared, your changing world involves flexibility. No? Being able to adapt to the different changes. strength of self-purpose, and belief in one's own worth. Okay? So, try to be tough. No matter what changes happen in our life, be resilient, be tough, be prepared that you can handle it. Of course, it's easier said than done, but if you put your mind to it, then it is possible. Next slide. Life is full of unexpected surprises. Don't let this be a lesson to refuse to learn. The major key to coping with change is to accept it. Okay? Next slide. Remember, tip number 2, you can control yourself. Remember that you can't control others, but you can control and improve yourself. When you face this reality, you start learning ways to overcome any problems, taking advantage of our life changes. Next. Tip 3, be purposeful. Change occurs, but you do not need to run away from them. It is important to be open to change and to be flexible to all the possibilities that change opens up for you. Okay? Next. Tip 4, look for the silver lining of change. Always look at the good side. Okay? If you experience a breakup, maybe this is so cliche, but maybe someone out there is really waiting for you much better. Mas bagay sa'yo. Mas maiintindihan ka. Okay? Or maybe it's God's plan na you remain single. Pero syempre, di ba? Yung iba biglang nalukot eh. Oh, no. Okay? So remember the adage, every cloud has a silver lining. There is a reason for this saying. Wise humans of the past knew well that change could bring both fear and opportunity. Yun ang lagi nyo isipin. May bagong opportunity. Okay, next. And move on. You cannot remain rooted in the current or a past situation, yet change requires change from you, and you will need to learn to resist turning back to the past and trying to recreate what once was. Forge on into the future and stand proud. Next slide. Okay, so recap. Change is inevitable. It's natural to resist change. We deal and cope with change in different ways. The more we start to accept life and people with all its warts, the less stress all the way round. Next slide. So life is change, growth is optional, choose wisely. Okay? So that ends my very long lecture on life changes. Thank you so much.